Hello again everyone, and welcome to the second vlog video in my condensed content series, a series where I aim to eliminate the fluff from useful videos and present the main points in a more streamlined fashion. Now, if you like the idea of investing in real estate and learning the process that it takes to become a real estate mogul, then this video is for you. As today we are taking the approximately 30-minute video, How to Buy Your First Rental Property Step by Step by Graham Stephan, and turning it into a much shorter summary. Before we get started, remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos of condensed advice in the future, as well as a whole lot more. Doing so really helps the channel and is only a small commitment from you. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's begin. This video by Graham Stephan, who is honestly one of my favorite YouTubers on the platform, has over 2 million views and is all about the process of buying your first investment property and ends with a message about how to scale up your investing through property. This video is really useful for anyone who is looking to get into property investing and does not have much idea about what it entails, and also includes a few useful tips that someone like myself who does own several investment properties may not have thought of. Graham divides the process into a series of 13 steps, starting with 0 and going through to 12. Could have just gone 1 to 13. But with that said, here's a summary of what each of these steps are. Step 0 is saving for a down payment, and if you're doing so, you need to save for an investment in, and this is in an American context, so it's a little bit different in every country, but you need to save 15 to 20% for a down payment or a deposit. If you're doing an occupier purchase, you can often get away with a smaller deposit. Then he moves into, after saving for your deposit, he talks about building up your credit scores. Step 1 is building credit. So in this step, he advises people to try and get a credit score of above 740, and this allows you to unlock more favorable rates for borrowing money from lenders. You should have lines of credit prior to help build your score, so things such as credit cards or maybe some small loans. And he goes, the key things to getting a good credit score are to try to avoid late payments on loans, and he's said to also look up tips on YouTube. And Graham actually links some other videos in the top pinned comment on the original video on how to maximize your credit score. Step 2 is tax returns. So these need to be up to date. Also, you need to have proof of existing assets, liabilities, and expenses and income. You have to have this ready to present to your mortgage broker or whoever's cutting you the loan. So things such as bank and credit card statements are important, pay slips, etc. Here's a tip of try to cut back on some living expenses just prior to loan application. This makes you more attractive to the lender as you come across as someone who doesn't actually spend a lot of money, therefore giving you a greater capacity to service the loan. Step 3 is talk to the lender. So bring all of your documents and have your credit score ready to give them. He advises not having them run the credit score for you. He said you can go to a website, creditkarma.com, which is an American site for finding what roughly your credit score is, and you can just present that to the broker. So when you go to the broker, this is to find out how much you can borrow / afford to pay back, and it gives you a budget or a roof, making it easier to act on a property you want to invest in if the opportunity arises. So that's step 3. Step 4 is see properties. So look at properties available on the market in this step. Look at as many as possible. The more you look at, the better understanding you will have of what something is worth, making it easier to find a good deal. He notes about being aware of rules around buying interstate, different rules there. Graham likes to target middle price range properties, and he puts in a step 4.5 here about like finding the right type of property to buy. So Graham personally doesn't like to buy condominiums. He prefers to buy freestanding single dwellings, duplexes or triplexes. I suppose that's to get away from all the body corporate issues that can go along with those properties. And also, if you want to do future development, you do own the whole piece of land. So step 5 is find the cash flow in the property. So most properties on the market will actually have a negative cash flow. Not that this should be the sole criteria for finding an investment, but it is to find property with a positive cash flow is something that is quite desirable when looking to build a investment portfolio. So look at similar properties in the same area to understand the rental market, to get an understanding of how much rent to expect from the type of property you're trying to find. Then understand your ongoing costs that you would expect to have once you've purchased the property. So look at things such as your mortgage repayments, property taxes, and any other ongoing expenses that you will need to cover as a landlord and property owner. You can use a mortgage repayment calculator. There's plenty of them online. Graham also talks about knowing your upfront costs with the purchase, which are important considerations. However, from an accounting perspective, these are sunk costs and are not really a proper adjustment to ongoing cash flow. To get an understanding of the cash flow, total your expected ongoing expenses and subtract them from your expected rental income. This will indicate how much you will need to either pay out of pocket or will receive as extra cash on an ongoing basis. So for example, if you had monthly costs of $4,000 for the property and your property brings in $3,200 a month, you would be out of pocket by about $800 a month. It's pretty simple. Again, this is just an indication to have before you buy the property. So as you pay down the loan, you'll be building equity in the property. So that's increasing your net worth. You guys try to avoid being out of pocket from a cash flow perspective, and don't be afraid to make lower value offers on properties to try and get it at a price that will make it close to cash flow neutral or positive, if possible. There's no harm in asking. Step 6, he calls older homes. This step is really a preference for property type and would better fit step 4, as it is about looking for properties that could benefit from minor cosmetics changes to boost the value of the property. So this is obviously a preference that Graham has. He recommends looking for well-reviewed contractors if required. See this as an opportunity to learn more about the house. And he also says expect to pay at least 20% more for any contract work that may be quoted to you. His goal here is to try and find things to fix up in the property to make it as renter-proof as possible, because I've got this experience too that tenants do actually tend to destroy things. Nobody loves your property more than you do. So if someone else is living in it, there you go. Side note, sorry. He recommends avoiding carpet if possible. Again, this is preference. And avoid properties in undesirable locations, which means being on a busy street, near a freeway, if there's traffic lights nearby. He doesn't like to have properties that back onto large apartment or commercial buildings. So it's in this one, he's giving like a lot of preferences about like what he looks for in a property. And there are useful points for things that other people can look at too. Okay, step 7 is making an offer on the property. So once you've found the property you make an offer. Graham offers lower prices, like we mentioned before. So he is used to having his offers knocked back. But now and then they do accept them. You guys try to work with a competent realtor. Avoid trying to outbid people and paying more than you want for the property. Graham doesn't mind paying more for good areas, easy transactions, and good quality property. That's all he has for making an offer. Step 8 is inspections. Inspect as many elements of the property as you can to find out if there are any issues that need to be fixed. Tally up how much the repairs will cost and ask the seller or vendor for credit for costs of repairing these. It doesn't always work, but you may get something taken off the price. He stresses this doesn't always happen, but he sees the inspection period as a second round of negotiations. So this is where all of that work with the contractors before you buy the house comes in handy. And this was a tip that I actually think was quite useful. I've never really thought to do myself. So that was one that I really benefited from. Step 9 is your closing costs. So escrow costs, lender costs, closing costs, other miscellaneous fees usually add up to about 1% of the property costs. He has another video linked in his description for this video on this topic, but these sort of costs, they do vary a lot depending on where you live and what you do need to pay. Okay, so after closing the property, he moves on to step 10, which is renovations, written with an exclamation mark. At this stage, it's basically undertake any renovations that you may need to undertake. If renovating, try to be on site each day to supervise the renovations. So this is getting those contractors that he was talking about back in to do the work that you were getting quoted for. And this is where you would expect to pay your extra 20% on top of the quotes that you were given. Step 11 is rent it out. Now, with the rental process, this is a no-brainer. It's not something that's a big deal actually where I'm from. Take good quality pictures of the property and use professional photography. And I'm guessing he's taking this from a perspective of renting out the properties himself, being in real estate. But he says to respond to anyone who contacts about renting immediately, advertise the property online. He gave a few sites he liked to use: Zillow, Trulia, Apartments.com, Craigslist, and Redfin. or you could use an agent. These sources would vary in different parts of the world. In terms of the websites, they would vary depending on where you are in the world for where you can list a property. He recommends using as many as you possibly can. He links a video on tenant screening in this video as well, which is perhaps worth having a look at. With that said, one comment I'd make is that all the stuff he's talked about in step 11, if you're engaging a realtor to manage your property, a lot of this work would be taken out of your hands, but that does mean you're eating into your return on a small percentage basis. So it's usually like 4 or 5% or something like that. And step 12 is scale up. Start saving up so you can undertake the experience again. The sooner you start doing this, the faster you will start attracting more properties. So that's more or less the video. I hope you liked it and found it useful. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Also, if you know of any other topics you would like me to shoot a summary of, let me know there also. I've linked Graham's original video in the description. If you're interested in real estate investing or general finance information, I encourage you to follow his channels. I believe he's got 2 personal channels and a podcast. I've always found him, to be quite useful and an interesting YouTuber. So you guys, if you're interested in this stuff, you'd probably be interested in what he's got going on there. Also, if you haven't done so already, please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps out a lot. Anyway, until next time, guys, take care.